a jam, right?
That's a jam right there.
The jamliest of jams.
It's super good. Fun fact, all our songs on the show are custom made.
Ooh.
None of it is stolen from anybody. We got people, we paid people, and we're like, can you make us a cool track? And they did it.
I don't know why.
It's amazing when you throw money at stuff.
Internet's a big place. You could easily steal and nobody will catch you.
I know. Well, but you try to be good. I've got some ethics, sort of.
I've got some ethics, sort of.
Some ethics.
The Naomi Kyle way.
Yeah. Greg, thanks so much for
Thank you for
today.
having me, Naomi. It's so exciting to be
You
here with
flew
you.
down.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Last Week in Gaming.
I know, right? It's very exciting.
What do you think of the title?
It's really good.
It's good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a huge
But
fan.
you stole that.
I kind of did. It's inspired by Last Week Tonight by John Oliver, who I love.
Sue us, try HBO. You'll never get a cent out of caffeine.
Yeah. Fox. Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We are in the Fox lot right now, which is also cool. What's up? Everything good?
I want to double check his mic pack.
Oh, your mic pack.
Your mic pack.
We had that same issue with Andrew, I think, right?
I think when
It's
people
similar.
sit down,
Oh, it like pulls the wire.
Jiggles.
It's all good. We're chilling.
happening? Touch me,
We've
touch
got
me.
a
Hello, who
whole
wants to touch
hour
me?
to kill.
Someone's
wants to touch me?
Is someone scheduled to touch Greg?
I mean, that amazing suit, which we all know.
There you
is
go.
Where's the
iconic
Greg
now.
toucher?
The mic.
Kyle, come touch
The
me.
Greg toucher. I'm coming to touch Greg. God, you're such a diva.
I love that.
I'm not a diva. I just want to be touched. And
I'm just gonna overkill it.
I think
part
that
of
is
it.
a human
There it is.
thing to want.
I actually needed a hug today. This is good.
Well, you're hugging me technically, but yeah, I'll give it. I'll give it. Come here, big guy.
perfect.
What's been
Thank you.
happening?
Oh, man.
The line is
Naomi's so
the hug help?
mean.
The hug help.
Did it kick the mic back in? Perfect.
I
that's
actually
what I'm
do
looking
have
for.
a healing power. so-
Kyle has a healing power.
I do.
Yes.
For
when I'm on
microphones.
my monthly stuff, he'll
Wow.
come in with a hug. Hey, this is a real thing. This is a real thing.
I'll
Happens
come and
to
hug
all
you.
Of us, okay, us women. You give me a hug and it just like goes away.
feels better,
It
yeah.
just disappears.
It's that big bear energy.
It's true.
Big bear energy.
Yeah, it's magical.
Don't look it up on the internet, but
Yeah,
that's what
do
it is
not.
right here.
Nobody Google
Look
that.
that up, guys.
We
Oh my
lost
God,
chat.
Do we have chat?
We lost chat on the
No,
window.
We need our questions for Greg.
There it is. There it is. It's
There
fine.
it is. Santa
It idled.
Greg arrived early. Indeed,
Thank
he
you.
did. Did you bring presents?
Himself.
No.
That's okay. Yeah, actually, you're the present.
Exactly. My presence is
Oh,
my
it's
presence.
a present.
Perfect. You freaking nailed it.
Perfect.
I guess my question is, since I flew you out here from San Francisco, are you ever gonna move to LA?
No.
Okay. Have you had thought about it?
Yeah, it comes up all the time. You know, if you didn't know, I work for a company called Kinda Funny, and so we do a whole bunch of internet video and podcasts, and so the question comes up a lot. You know, would you move to LA? And it's not like a line in the sand. We wouldn't. We'll always do
Right.
what's best for the business, but the more and more the years add up. We're about to celebrate, our 5th anniversary in January.
What?
Wow.
5th anniversary.
What date exactly?
January 5th. Well, we'll celebrate on the 4th, I think. It's the Friday before, I believe. But January 5th is our anniversary date.
Okay. Are
So,
you guys doing anything special?
Oh, yeah. We do a big stream. We'll be
Okay.
doing 12 hours of streaming, I think, on the
Nice.
Friday before. If anybody can check what
Cool.
the Friday before the 5th is. I think it's the 4th.
Okay.
But,
it's like 10 days before my birthday.
Oh, wow. All right.
Just so happens. I'll remember that for next time.
Okay, good.
Every
yeah.
10 years.
So, yeah, we stream there and, talk about what we're going to be doing for the next year, talk about what happened in the last year, really
I
talk
do
to our
want to
audience.
talk about that. Is there anything you could tease?
Oh, for next year?
I mean, we don't have to touch on that right now,
Okay,
but
okay.
you can tell us about it later.
Sure.
But yeah, so Game Awards are next week.
Yeah,
Do
here
want
in
to-
LA, I'll
let's
be
go-
back.
Yeah, exactly. You'll be back here.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're gonna wear your suit.
I like to, keep it for the red carpet. When I get there and I talk
right.
to Maria Menounos and
all the
Yes.
big time Hollywood interviewers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Who are you wearing?
Right.
Like J. Crew. You might not have heard
J.
of him.
Crew. Actually, who makes this?
This is Tipsy Elves.
Tipsy Elves.
Yeah, there you go.
You get it on their website.
Yeah, there's a kind of funny sponsorship right now that I talk about in Games Daily, and it'd
Really?
be really helpful if I remembered it right now. I don't know.
But you don't remember.
Kinda funny.
Damn.
Okay.
Do they have a
remember.
women's suit that I could get?
Oh yeah, they got
I
it for all
vote.
shapes and sizes.
Okay,
and stuff.
cool.
Yeah. They got
Tipsy elf?
onesies. Tipsy elves.
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 And they have
Plural.
onesies.
Okay.
You
Hold on.
said
Well, now
what
if I'm
kind
doing
of
this whole
onesies?
thing, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, this
Yeah.
is
They got a white elephant thing too. Now, if you say you're like, hey, I have to go to a white elephant party, you just click that. Here's give me a white elephant gift for $25, and they give you a random white elephant gift for $25.
What?
That's pretty
this
good.
Is amazing.
Yeah, oh no, it's,
I'm gonna
elf.
go that. I'm
We
gonna
don't-
do
we
that this
don't-
week. I'm gonna do some
we
shopping.
don't support bad companies, all right?
Right.
They're getting their money's worth out of you right now.
Yeah, exactly. Tim, cut this out and send it to him.
Is he watching?
Go to
Tim.
tipsyelves.com/games now to get 20% off your entire order.
Wow.
Holy cow.
Clip that. That was a
I'm
good
totally gonna do
good
that.
promo.
And I'm gonna find myself
You
a
know
nice
that?
suit maybe.
What else
for...
they got? Yeah, they
Tipsy
sell
elves.
one-of-a-kind Christmas sweaters, dresses, family pajamas, and onesies that will transform your holiday party into an unforgettable experience.
He's
I
crushing
love
this.
the holidays, so I'm all about that.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
totally gonna shop this weekend.
Tipsy
There's
Elves,
something for-
sponsor us too.
Now,
Yeah,
yes, 100%.
yeah.
Now, if you want to actually, though, move away from the sponsorship with just cool facts, they've sponsored us before, right?
Yeah.
But I was at you know how you go to, you travel all the time for work.
Yeah.
You do the shoot, you come home, you crash in the hotel room, you turn on TV, whatever. What's always on? Forensic Files, and then Shark Tank.
Yeah.
I'm watching Shark Tank, and it's an old episode of Shark Tank. The Tipsy Elf guys come out.
Oh,
They were
that's
a
so
Shark
cool.
Tank thing.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love noticing like when companies, because you never really get the follow through on that show.
Totally.
So you have to go up and like do research and so that's really cool that you
Yeah.
come upon that.
Yeah.
I can't believe you guys are at 5 years.
I know, right?
It doesn't
Incredible.
feel like
That's
it.
crazy.
It's always
2015.
Yeah, it's always that thing
remember.
that feels like we've been doing it for no time at all, and then at the same time 3 decades.
Forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Does it put the pressure on you guys to be like, okay, well, we need to do something in the next 5 years?
No,
bigger,
you know, that
better?
was funny. You
that
know,
stuff.
Andrea Renee got stolen by LA recently.
Oh, yeah.
She
by
moved down
LA.
here. Yeah, LA took Andrea Renee from me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
What's Good Games, Andrea
I
Renee.
wasn't sure.
She was a co-host on Games Daily for a long time.
Right.
And when she started with us, she sat down. She's like, all right, cool. So, like, what's your 6-month plan for this show? And I was like, no one here's ever asked me that.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like, we're moving
You're like,
so
we're gonna see where
fast.
the
There's so many
money's
things.
at? I don't know.
Yeah, it's more about, like, you know, for us, it's crazy taking care of people. You know what I mean?
yeah.
You know, working at IGN for as long as we did, right? To be out on your own and now have a real staff, have multiple people who believed in the vision.
Rely on you for benefits,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, of course. And they've put their faith in us in the same way we put our faith in IGN, and now that's the pressure for me. It's never like, what are we doing in 5 years? It's like, let's keep everybody happy. Let's keep the lights on. Let's make sure we're, you know, bringing in enough money.
Bringing in enough money and giving people like a good livelihood. Like,
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And let alone delivering for the audience, right?
yeah, keep making entertaining content.
Yeah.
So I do think about that too. I have like my own mini business. It's
Sure.
nothing at your level, but you always think about like if I had this amount of money, like I just want to get these people to have such an awesome life, and for me to
Yeah.
be the provider of that.
Yeah.
Which is why you like get into like corporate stuff, which
Totally.
sometimes kind of I don't know. You end up getting like, well, if they paid me more and like all this stuff, like especially live in San Francisco.
Sure. So to your question though, LA.
Yeah, LA.
That's the thing. For us, we
Because
keep.
it would be cheaper.
But by how
little
much?
bit, yeah.
Exactly. That's the
Yeah.
thing. A
I'm still
little bit,
paying a
sure.
lot.
Sure, a little bit. But then it would be the thing we talk about. It's the quality of life. It's the okay, cool. Are we all 45 minutes from work now? And it's also
Yeah.
the fact that we're now a 8-member team, full time, 8 full-time members,
Wow.
right? That
And
means
part-timers as well.
Congrats.
no, part-time's not included. That's
okay.
8 full-time people that are there every
Wow.
day. Thank you very much.
Congrats,
On top of that, then 3 part-timers who come in for Games Daily. On top of that, the fact that when we need to bring in a guest host or somebody else, we're able to reach out to an IGN or a GameSpot. But even contracting it just to the 8 people we have, right? The majority of us all have partners, significant others.
Yeah.
And so it's like they have a life as well. They
Yeah.
chose SF for a reason as well. And so if there was a, night and day, here's exactly why you need to move, it would
Yeah.
make sense. But
Or if like everyone all of a sudden was like, we want to move to LA.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right now, though, I think for as important as games are to Kind of Funny, San Francisco still makes the most sense.
Totally.
Because we are given opportunities that I don't think we'd be afforded necessarily in LA, because we are lucky enough that when people come to SF to show games to IGN, to GameSpot, they also say Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
And that's weird, right? Like I mean,
know.
it's like there's so few things happening. Well, there was a PlayStation happy hour up there with the PR team this week, and I walked in and it was like cool, and like I looked around, it was IGN, GameSpot, and it was
And
us.
then you guys.
And I was like, who else is coming? And they're like,
Whoa.
oh, like these 2 or 3 other freelancers, and it was like, wow,
That's
like
very
that's
flattering.
the SF industry right now in terms of what we do with the .coms
You guys
and
are
big
the
things.
3 musketeers, or the 3 tentpole like
Exactly.
companies to
Yes.
go to.
Let's call it that. Yeah. Well,
That's
our tent
cool.
pole's much smaller, but yes.
But you're still in that pool of people.
Sure,
Like,
exactly, and
want
it's-
it or not.
And I think, if we were to move to LA, I think it would be that we would be pivoting in a way that looks more like Funhouse, or
Oh, yeah.
looks more like Steve Zaragoza and Elliot Morgan.
Oh my God.
Right? I'm blanking. Why can't, Valley
That's
Folk. The Valley Folk,
I was thinking
right?
trees, and then I was like,
Exactly.
almost
I was thinking Sugar Pine 7 for a second with Steven
was like,
Subject.
yeah.
But it would be that thing where I think you'd be moving to more entertainment content of
Okay.
fiction, of narrative, of this.
touching on everything else versus.
And I mean,
heavy stuff.
creating your own thing, right? Whereas
Right.
we legitimately run a business and a company that is based on podcasting and talking about the things we love. And I think with
primarily-
games being a part of that. That's it.
Sorry, you're primarily supported by Patreon, correct? Or
Patreon's a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, we're lucky enough that when we were getting ready to leave and we were making this a real go in a business, one of the things we talked about a lot was we wanted this to be a stool with a lot of legs. So that if tomorrow Patreon went away, YouTube went away, ad revenue.
You still had these other like
exactly. The company wouldn't fall over
yeah.
and die. And I think we were lucky enough that we've been successful with that. And when you look at a couple, when the ad apocalypse happened on YouTube, and then when, if you remember, Patreon changed their credit card fees for a hot second.
Yeah.
Where they were like, we're gonna pass it on to the consumer. That sank businesses. That stuff really did go to where creators were like, hey, this ruins everything.
It like redlined some.
It was all your eggs in one basket, and we've been lucky enough to build a business that isn't that way.
Good.
So,
well, speaking of being in LA, the Game Awards, I do want to touch on
that. Totally.
Well,
you think Death Stranding's gonna win Game of the Year?
We did.
I just think
you're just beaten by it, Kyle. That's what it is. I look over there, I see it in your eyes.
I just think it's very popular. The fan base of the game and Kojima as well, and then Keely's in it.
And the build-up.
You got a conspiracy theory.
Well, no. I don't think he's like him specifically is like make it win, but all of it adding together, and then you're gonna get the For the Lulz fan base that's gonna be like, well, let's make sure it wins because then that'll be a controversy. Like,
but you figure it's the audience has 10% of that vote. The rest is the judges.
It's all judges.
Yeah, and I think that and speaking as a judge, kind of funny as a judge, right? I feel like one of the big parts of it is that it's too controversial. You remember these conversations at IGN, we all go into a room and it would be that, all right, what is going to be our game of the year to vote for in Game Awards or overall, right? And I think Death Stranding is that thing where I loved it. I totally get why people hate it though.
Yeah.
And so that's my thing too of like when I sit down to vote for my personal game of the year, even though I adore Death Stranding, it is not my game of the year.
Right.
Interesting.
And so I think when you get to a list, it gets interesting because for me, right, I really think that it's a super fascinating year, and everybody has these Achilles heels, and it's like, what'll be the reason? What'll be the reason that it gets knocked out of the running, right? I think Control suffers from a bunch of not issues, but like the story at the end kind of falls apart, and I thought the boss design at the end was just
not good,
not fun. But the game overall is amazing. Death Stranding's already weird. Super Smash Brothers is a game from last year, but is here, but it's not new. So is it weird? Would you vote for that?
Jedi's going to be in that situation next year.
Why not? Jedi will not make the list next year, and it breaks my heart. Personally, my game of the year is Jedi Fallen Order.
Agreed. Yeah.
100%.
Or like we were saying, Apex.
Yeah, no, totally.
I mean, I feel like that would have been the winner. Like if they had put that on the list automatically.
And I think Apex suffers from being out for a long time. I think it suffers from stumbling a bit with some of its microtransactions, right? Remember that? That was a big hullabaloo. When the developers went after the audience for a hot second on Reddit. Like, there's a bunch of different things there.
Yeah.
But like Resident Evil, right? Amazing game, was my front runner for Game of the Year up until Jedi, and maybe Control getting in there. But again, in terms of looking at it as a whole, all right, it's a remake.
That's my thing, yeah.
Sekiro, all right, it's a Souls game. So if you either love it or you hate it. And then even Outer Worlds, right, it's an RPG, and for me, it wasn't enough. Exactly, it wasn't enough. I didn't think it delivered. I thought its ending was flat. Like, it's a weird year.
It's so weird.
And I don't like. I know people get really mad when people say, "Oh, it's a weak year," and I'm like, "It's not a weak year.
No, definitely not weak.
It's a weird year though. Where I think last year you look at it right, and it's like, is it going to be God of War? Is it going to be Red Dead? And one guy was like, it's going to be Spider-Man. You're like, not this year. They should have come out another year. This year, Spider-Man would have run away with
There's
this
no
year.
sure winner.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah, would have. Yeah, Spider-Man would have run. Yeah, Outer Worlds, that, like, again, after playing Apex, felt so clunky and the shooting.
Totally. I mean, for me,
I struggled through that game.
And that was my thing, too. And I'm so glad you're saying it, because I felt like such a crazy person of playing it for review. I did my review in a vacuum, because when the embargo was happening, I wanted to be in town. So we did it as a, tack on for the Gamescast. And then, I was abroad or whatever, and I opened up my phone, and everybody's giving me, 9s and 9.5s and 10s.
I mean, the whole conversation online was like, this game's amazing. And I also felt like you, where I was like, I don't know. Like, for me, it felt so clunky, and it was missing a lot.
It felt dated, right?
Yeah.
And that was my thing.
It totally felt dated.
It really, I think in the same way, we've talked about games before, having this elevator pitch. I remember, for me, it was Fallout 4, actually, where I remember Tim on Gamescast asked us, what do you expect out of this? And I'm like, at the bare minimum, I expect a modern Fallout 3.
Yeah.
And that would be a disappointment, although I'd enjoy it if they did it. That's exactly what they did.
Yeah.
And so here it was with Obsidian. It's like, I expect a modern Fallout New Vegas, smaller.
Yeah.
And they did that. And it was like, that's great, and I understand why you love that, but you guys were talking about it with Apex, right? I had just come off Borderlands. So when I'd run up to a box and not be able to mantle on it.
Can't do
When
it.
I couldn't slide, when I couldn't reload and move, I was like, oh.
But Borderlands has all those things,
Of
too.
course, that's
Could
why-
have been
Yeah.
on this list. I mean, maybe.
Well, yeah, and again, with everybody's Achilles heel, Borderlands is more Borderlands, right?
It's more
Like,
Borderlands, yeah. But that's why I say, like, Apex, you were talking about the microtransaction stuff. Like, didn't hurt, like, the game experience itself.
Oh, totally,
is
totally.
solid. And
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that would have been our sure winner. But anyways.
That or Spider-Man. Like, now that you
yeah.
brought that up,
Oh,
I'm
sure.
like, yeah, I can't forget that. If Spider-Man had came out in 2019, it would have been a sure.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And even when I think
Yeah.
you look at
And just the uproar, like, everybody was playing that game. It was like,
Totally.
people who don't play games normally were, like, all about this.
And so that's why when you look ahead to 2020, you're in the exact same situation
Yeah.
of all these heavy hitters coming out, and I'm sure any of them, and again, everybody wants to make their games as good as possible, but you know at some point, even though I'm not sure, he's probably not worried about Neil Druckmann or CD Projekt
Right,
Red
they're
or whoever,
fine.
it's just like,
They're good.
what if we could have put it out this year?
Yeah.
What if
It
we could have
would've freaking
just
taken the cake.
crushed this
It
and
would've
taken it
taken
over?
the
Next year
cake.
is going to be massive. My God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
didn't even think of that.
And then two
Yeah.
new consoles on top of that, right?
On top
Oh
of
my God.
everything.
Yeah.
What's E3 going to look like that year? Well, I mean,
Who's going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
well,
yeah?
that
What's
is another
happening?
thing we
Yeah.
don't. I mean, the state of E3 right now it's wobbly.
Yeah,
It's not going to be.
100%.
Especially
It's not
after
going
that
to feel
hack.
the same, and
Yeah.
it already started feeling that way this year. So, I don't know. What were you going to say?
I said especially after that hack. Like, I can't.
Oh, I know.
The
that-
hack, where they just published our information.
Like
Yeah.
people's numbers, and yeah, that's.
Yeah, it's horrifying.
So that I guess since you guys are on the panel, you can't really choose out loud. You can't publicly say who you think might win.
Well, I mean, no, we did a whole Gamescast available. Patreon.com/kindoffunnygames right now. YouTube.com/kindoffunnygames
Yes, you can
podcast
promote
service are on Monday.
the heck out of everything.
But we did a whole thing of predictions, and I think that for Game of the Year, I went a little bit dark horse, I think, and said Control. Where I think that when
That's
you look at it, and especially with like the way it's described on the Game Awards website and it's described on our ballots of like what's the complete package, pretty much. I think all these games are great games and have different pieces of it, but I think Control unifies it all the best in terms of this is the best we could do out of this list for games.
I'd be happy to see that.
But then I know I think it was Tim and Fran and maybe even Imran all came down on Resident Evil. They think that that's a
Really?
safe bet. Yeah.
All right.
Which is a fantastic game. I really, really dug.
Yeah, but no on Death Stranding then.
No.
Okay.
It's just too polarizing. I just
feel like the build-up. Okay, so all the previous years was so much hype for that game.
Sure.
So it would feel weird if like it didn't.
Yeah, but the hype
Like
was
there's
like.
that whole feeling to it now that I'm not.
There's the hype. It was like, what is it? What is it? It's a walking simulator.
Yeah, we didn't even know what it was.
Crawl over the mountain.
Yeah.
How you gonna get over that mountain?
Skyrim.
Lay out a path, and I love it.
You love it.
I love that.
Really?
It was so. I thought it was such a relaxing, tranquil, meditative game to be out
The
there
music,
and like.
I'm very
Oh my
picky about
God!
the music.
When you'd walk and it would just pull back and play
Yeah.
churches or whatever, it's like yes.
Is it your style of music too? Like, was it?
I mean, that's not stuff I would put on my Spotify playlist normally, but I thought it fit really well with the game and I dug it.
It worked.
Yeah,
Okay.
I like a good soundtrack. If your music matches up with what the gameplay is, then I'm down.
For me, I'm like hating on Death Stranding, obviously, but I actually
Because you have
really.
this Apex chip on your shoulder. I
Yeah,
understand.
it's
I
true. But
understand.
I really appreciate what he did. He's tried
Oh,
to
yeah.
do something different, and it was like about the whole piece and the art and stuff. But there's just I do.
And see, that's why looking at the Game Awards stuff, I don't think there's a chance in hell it wins Game of the Year. I don't think there's a chance in hell it does not win Best Direction.
Oh yeah,
Best
yeah.
Direction is like
for
bam.
so many
Yeah.
others that I'm
Yeah.
sure it will win.
Yeah.
And then I think it's
Probably
interesting
for
too.
voice actors.
See, voice actors, I think, is another one where it could easily split the vote.
Okay.
I think it's weird that Norman got nominated. I think Mads crushed it. I think Troy Baker was
Also
better
phenomenal.
than Norman in it.
Was he nominated previous years for other games?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay.
But for his portrayal here of Higgs, right?
He wasn't. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on top of that, Tommy Earl Jenkins,
I can pull up the
Die Hard
list.
man.
Yeah.
I thought he did an amazing job too.
Okay.
So it's like I think that it's interesting that Norman's there. I really think it's between Mads and Ashley.
Okay.
Because even with somebody who I was underwhelmed with the Outer Worlds, I liked it fine, but underwhelmed. I thought
Ashley crushed it.
she was
Yeah.
amazing. I thought her side missions were the best. I loved engaging with her character. And
Did you play Gears 5?
no,
Okay.
I started it.
What did I miss?
Laura Bailey.
Laura Bailey. Ugh, I was all messed
No,
up.
no,
I was
no.
like, Laylee? No, that's not her name. But yeah, so you can't really say if she.
No, exactly. I mean, it's Laura being Laura, and Laura's amazing
Oh,
and
it's
awesome.
amazing.
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
that's why I was like, oh, she'll probably win. I
Well,
guess.
see, for Gears, I think the problem there is that I think it's a lot of people are in the same situation, where in the same way we're talking about, oh, Borderlands is more Borderlands, right?
Gears
was more Gears.
Yeah.
And I think that underwhelmed and didn't get a narrative going. And for me, like one of the reasons I'm playing it on, I started it on xCloud. Like I want to
okay.
test that out with my xCloud game. one of the reasons I waited so long, right, is just because the conversation moved by so quick.
Yeah.
Tim played it for review for us, and he was like, I love it, it's great. And then it all happened, and then a week later, nobody was talking about Gears.
Yeah.
And so it became one of those, I'll get to it later.
It was like a build up and then kind of blurred away. Yeah. What are you playing right now?
Oh, man, right now I just platinumed Borderlands.
Okay.
Very excited about that. I'm getting ready for the DLC coming up at the end of the month.
I love that game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. We did a Let's Play, not for this show, but for my channel.
Yeah.
For AMD, I think. It was great. I mean...
It's insane. I can't get enough of it. And
yeah.
I mean, I host the Borderlands show too for...
Also for full disclosure.
For disclosure, yeah. But even if they weren't paying me to host that show, I tell you, I can't stop playing this game, and I can't wait for the DLC. And, I mean, to have platinumed it, and then, like, the next day, be like, I want to play more. That doesn't happen for me rarely, right? On top of that, then, this weekend, I'm finally beating Life is Strange.
Oh, did you play the first one?
Oh, yeah. I played them all. But when Life is Strange 2 came out, I did episode 1 and episode 2, but the release schedule with so much time between them, at the end of 2, or at the beginning of 2, it takes me so long to get into it again. And then by the time episode 3 came out, I was like, wait, did I play 2? And I had to go read a wiki, and I'm like, fuck, no, I didn't play this.
Yeah, you're like, I do kind of remember the story.
Hold on, swear jar, I got you there, sorry.
That happens to me. Oh, you swore. What did you say?
Hey!
I said the F word. I said the F word.
The F word.
I'm a maestro at cursing, everybody. I can blend them in, no problem. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, that like flew past me. Anyway.
But no, yeah, now that all the last 3 episodes are out, I'm going to sit down and do that and get through that. And then I'm excited for holiday break because I really want to sit down and platinum Jedi Fallen Order. I want to platinum Control. And then
Did you already start Jedi a little bit?
Oh, I've beaten Jedi.
You're just going to try to
These are the things where it's like, I'll be playing a game for
Double
review, I'll beat it, and then it's like, I'll come back to this one day for the trophies. And then I never get back, but I'm doing it.
For this
so
one.
Jedi Control, and then hopefully Death Stranding, but I'm not sure how hard that Death Stranding is going to be. Because Phantom Pain broke me. I did on an extra live stream. I'm like, I'm gonna platinum Phantom Pain. I'm sorry, Metal Gear Solid 5. And so when I sat down to do it, I was like, this is too much. I can't do this.
Yeah.
No.
Well, keep us posted. I'm sure
I will.
On the socials.
Find me on Twitter, everybody. Game Over Greg.
Someone wrote Greg hates Star Wars. Who's this?
It looks like
how
that's.
How dare you? I mean, is it true?
Just I.
I'm wearing my gorgeous.
I saw earlier in the chat.
You know
were
why?
getting
I
shout-outs
wanted to honor her because of the. Did you see the panel? With
and the lights went out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I was like, I'm wearing this.
Spooky
on the
Ghost.
Yeah.
I'm channeling some Carrie Fisher right now.
So what I've said, it's been an actual recent development in my life, Naomi, is that I've fallen in love with Star Wars.
Nice.
Is that
Guys.
the movies? I've always been like, whatever.
That's
I
a
see
headline
them.
for this podcast, by the way.
Nail it.
Greg loves Star Wars, guys.
If you have the
happening.
technology, go to Instagram.com/GameOverGreggy. I went to the Academy of Sciences yesterday with my wife and our lightsabers and dressed as a Sith and did all the stuff.
That was like fun.
Yeah, it's been a weird perfect storm of the movies I've always enjoyed enough or whatever, but I've never been like, I need to see them multiple times. I need to dress up. I need a thing. But when we got our first taste of Jedi Fallen Order, I was like, this is so my jam of a game.
Yeah.
So when we went down there and did the preview event, that ended with us then going to Disneyland, which then had a private Star Wars land thing, and got to ride the Falcon and build my lightsaber. Oh my god!
Yeah.
What did you go with?
I went Power and Control. I went Sith. I went very.
I went
purple.
I went green.
Yeah. But it's that crazy thing of that happened right, and that was amazing, and then obviously all the stuff that's been happening at Disney Plus and Mandalorian, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Then playing Fallen Order. It's my game of the year. I fall in love with it, and I think you've beaten it. No spoilers.
Not yet.
No spoilers.
Pretty close though.
As the game goes through and happens, and then when you get your lightsaber and understand the power of that, I was like, I got to go back down there and build my lightsaber now based on the lightsaber I made in this game. And like blah blah. So I'm super into it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Are you gonna go back and then do it for real?
Yeah.
Do the real thing.
I want to see if they're gonna add Cal's lightsaber parts to the lightsaber stuff
really?
at Disney.
I hope so.
Would let me.
I've been there, dude. The wheel starts spinning. There's no traction.
So much I gotta say, and I feel weird in my little kid seat. But
I know,
so who do you identify as a Sith or a Jedi? Or?
See, I mean, like I always jokingly did because I didn't care, and now that I care, no, I gotta go Jedi, right? And that's the thing. Is like, I mean, even dressing as a Sith last night and being evil with my red lightsaber, I was like, this isn't me.
This isn't me.
I learned from Cal. Travis Willingham's my master.
No. Travis Willingham. That's so funny.
Yeah, I love Star Wars. We recently got into Star Trek, but I'm like back and forth about which of the two.
You watch Discovery?
We're super,
Yeah.
Well, Discovery
Oh, you
for
hosted
sure.
the thing too.
I hosted
Yeah.
the CBS show. You can watch it on CBS Access.
Don't
All
mention
access.
other streaming platforms. It's fine.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I mean, come on.
There's still-
It'll be on
All
caffeine
streaming
eventually.
everywhere
It'll be on
right
caffeine.
now. But yeah, we're actually going back and watching like Voyager.
Oh,
We
nice.
went through all of the
Next Generation.
Oh my God, I'm blanking. Yeah, because we're on Voyager right now. But yeah, we're going back and watching all of that. It's so good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Still really
But
good.
Generation still takes the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry about that segue.
No, you're good. It's great.
That's
I'll
what
just
we're
sit at my
talking.
little kid
We're
table.
just chatting.
Podcasting.
We're riffing. I want to read any chat stuff. Still working on Jedi myself. Nice, Johnny. Love those pics. Which pics are you talking about?
Oh, him.
My
Yeah.
picks. Instagram.com/GameOverGreggy. Come on
there you
over,
go.
everybody.
The
There
whole
you go.
Monster Energy thing ruined Death Stranding.
Very weird.
Yeah, for me, I was like,
Incredibly weird.
When
I
did
was
you see? Like, did you see? Had you known prior?
Oh,
to
I knew it was
playing?
happening. Yeah, they talked about it.
Yeah. And how did you feel about it when you actually?
I mean,
saw
when
it?
you get into it, I was just like, it's Kojima.
Okay, it's also weird. You have to get up every time to drink one drink. That was annoying.
Yeah. There's a lot of weird
I'm like, you
choices.
could just grab two, or like just stay standing. Death Stranding.
That's
and you
that's
could
how I
A
drink.
couple, before you sit down. Like, why are you doing the back and forth?
Because that's how Kojima had the vision
weird.
for how it was going to be.
I didn't like that.
When I was talking to everybody on the Kind of Funny review about it, and they were all complaining about, like, how long it takes to shower and do this, and you have to skip, and you have to skip, and you have to skip, and I was like, I never skipped any of that. I was
Like, I
like,
was into
this is
it.
what the experience is. I will watch him pee.
I need to see Norman Reedus buns.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
Perfect.
right.
Yeah. For me, I know we got a little bit of flack for it, but if like EA had Monster Energy in
Forget
their
it.
game,
Forget
it would be #1 on Reddit. It'd be like #1 through 5.
Sure. But I mean, then you chalk it up to him, right? Because Peace Walker had Doritos in it and Calorie Mate, right?
Yeah.
And like if he had had Mountain Dew, there was a Mountain Dew shirt for Big Boss and stuff. So it's just like whatever. This is what it is.
I'm actually, because I'm a marketer at heart, like I'm totally fine with that. I'm like, yeah, the product placement, but then the person to me that's like, but this guy would have got so much flack for it, but he's getting
sure,
a pass.
yeah.
That's the one that gets mad.
It was more the fact that it's like this post-apocalyptic world of rebuilding America, and why do we have
Monster
these
Energy's still
pristine
crushing
energy
it.
drinks, right?
Yeah.
But then you deliver
Maybe that's all that was
legitimate
left.
pizzas in it, so who knows?
Right.
Yeah, it's like Idiocracy. It's like only Taco
Yeah,
Bell.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
that's the Demolition Man. Only Taco Bell has
Taco
survived.
Bell.
Yeah. Anyway.
But you love Monster. It's Kyle.
Yeah, that's
Kyle
the
Monster
Kyle
Energy
meme.
synergy.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on get a little deeper.
Oh.
Well, because I don't know, we haven't really had a chat for many years. When
Sure.
was the last
Like,
time
we
chatted?
run into each other at parties a lot.
So
and it's always that
briefly.
same thing of like, how'd you show?
What's
Where are you
up?
again?
And
All
then we're
right,
like,
see you
okay,
later.
bye.
It's so loud.
It's always so loud at those parties.
I'm going to bed. I'll talk to you later.
Yeah. So it's been like I'll just say 5 years.
Sure,
It's
okay.
like when you left IGN pretty much was, that was it. You
Yeah,
were
I was dead to you and everybody else there.
skyrocketing. Well, not dead. No, we were just like watching in awe of like your star going
Sure,
like,
sure.
up. Yeah, but it's true. It happened. I'm serious. Like,
I'm
it was-
joking.
Naomi
you're
probably
joking.
was.
I might take it
But I
seriously.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, sure.
But no, I wanted to know, like, is there anything? Have you thought about like how crazy it's been these past 5 years?
Oh my God, yeah.
And can you like pinpoint what it was that like made it so successful from the start?
Oh wow.
Like was there anything like I don't want to say it's like it was the key to your success, but
Oh sure.
something
Well, I
along
mean
those
that's easy.
lines?
That's I think the key to the success is authenticity. I think that's
Okay.
that why we've been able to work. But even and it sounds weird because I don't mean to make it all about myself, but it's why Kind of Funny works, and it's the reason why I worked, and the reason why I worked is why Kind of Funny worked.
Right.
I think the best example I can give you is this: in 2012 when we started doing Up at Noon and we started doing Start.
Yeah.
IGN sent me down to VidCon. You came, you were there, and it was me, and it was Eric, and it was Tim, and it was Nick,
Yeah.
and it's Fran too. And it was that idea of when they approached me and they were like, you need to go there to learn about YouTube. And I was like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. The show's on YouTube.
Yeah.
And when I went down there, that's when I discovered that's what I wanted to do, and I wanted to start my own personal
And
channel.
you met all those other YouTubers
Exactly,
who are inspiring.
right?
Yeah.
But it was that conversation early on in there of being in these rooms, and they were talking about what makes a YouTuber successful. And I remember being there and hearing all these numbers and stuff and thinking like, oh my God, I'm so far behind. I should have done this years ago.
Yeah.
I haven't built this. I don't have the cachet in this like they do. And it was this conversation where the woman giving the presentation would put up a photo and like,
Yeah.
what's their catchphrase? And everybody would yell it out. What are these people? What do they call their fans? And everybody would yell it out. And it slowly dawned on me that without trying, I'd already done that, right? Like, what's Greg Miller's catchprise in 2012? Beyond, right? Like, you know what I mean? And like,
Podcast.
what? And we were already doing. I was already calling the audience best friends, and I was already showing and sharing my life with them and my journey. And that's when it was like, oh no, I thought I hadn't done any of this, when in reality I had been doing it the whole time, just under the banner of IGN rather than Game Over Greggy or Kind of Funny. And so, suddenly seeing that. They're teaching classes about being authentic and then
Yeah.
realizing that's all I ever knew how to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like when
So
I
you already had the key.
when I had started on GameScoop, right? Like I was, me and Damon were among the first people I think to get hired there and be like, we grew up reading this, we grew up doing
Yeah.
this. And so people already found it in me that I was living their dream or what they always wanted to do or what they dreamed about doing. And so, you know, going through my divorce there, going through my cancer there, going through all these different personal, just talking about Portillo or where we went to see a movie or what happened
Right.
this or
Chicago.
PAX East panels, yeah,
Yeah.
right? Like, I had already done this thing where people knew me not as just a reviewer, but they knew me
They
as
knew
a
your
person.
life.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so when we branched off and did Kind of Funny,
Yeah.
that's what the business was founded on and is founded on, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think I always thought it'd be hard to explain it to PlayStation PR,
Mm-hmm.
and then even when we got outside of our own ecosystem of video games to make a sponsor understand what we were doing, because when you look at Phil DeFranco, when you look at PewDiePie, when you look at IGN and you see 12 million followers, and then you look
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
at a Kind of Funny and we have 2 channels and both have 260,000 subs, you're like, to me as an outsider that would look like, oh, they're nothing, they're failures. But when advertisers or partners or whoever look at it now, they see, well, no, they have 260, well, you know, if you combine,
Engaged audience.
exactly,
members.
people
Yeah.
who reach into their pockets every month to give
Yeah.
them money because they believe in this.
Who watch everything you guys make.
Exactly.
Who are
And-
at every event you guys are
And
at.
when we make a new shirt, when we try to win a game award, when we go, when Tim wants to be 30 under 30,
Oh
like,
my God, yeah.
this
That's true.
audience motivates.
That happened this year, right?
Last year.
Last year,
Last year,
yeah.
yeah.
This audience gets motivated to go do that for
Yeah.
us, and that's the power of what an internet creator is in 2019. You don't need the giant number.
No.
You just need an inspired fan base.
I would
And
say
they trust you.
that's something I always talk about, is that you guys have like one of the best fan bases.
Thank you.
Your community is incredible, and also
Yeah.
great pickup of Joey Noah.
Oh,
as well.
sure, yeah. Oh,
She's
Joey's
fantastic.
amazing.
Yeah, the Kind of Funny fan base. Anytime they come in, I'm like, okay, thank God, there's going to be a bunch of
Oh,
great
it's gonna
people.
be a breeze.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
got
You know,
this.
certain communities will come in, and you're like, oh, geez, I'm not ready for these guys. But the Kind of
Yeah.
Funny ones are just amazing.
Yeah, and I mean,
so
again,
nice.
that was the whole
Great
thing
people.
of not worrying about the reach, right? You know, when we started, we were like, we're exchanging the reach of IGN for the intimacy of Kind of Funny. And what that meant
You're like,
to
well,
us,
we're not going to read the 100 of millions views. You know, you're going to, but you'll still have that engaged audience. you
right?
know?
And you know, a big part of it was like, you know, if you're gonna show up and be a jerk, we don't want you, and we'll
Yeah,
tell you that,
that's
and
good.
we don't want to take money from you for that. And it's that thing of, for the most part, you know, our audience is a person on the internet, so that things can happen. But for the most part, when that happens,
Yeah.
it's not going to be that they're going to engage with you and wrestle with you in the mud as much as go, hey man, we really don't do that here. Like if you want to
Right.
do that, like that's not our thing. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and that weeds out people of not getting into it and not trying to be jerks.
Yeah, and it's good that you're setting the boundaries from the get-go too.
Sure,
I
yeah.
mean, like I've had to do that with my audience because I mean, being a woman and all that stuff, you have to filter out some nasty people.
It's bad on the internet for a woman,
women?
Naomi?
Yeah.
Wow. I
And
can't-
in
I can't
gaming?
imagine that.
Oh my
It's
God!
gnarly.
People don't. Oh.
Yeah, but I mean, you're actually Kyle was huge in that, helping me with that because. At first, I was like, well, just let it all come. Like, I'm not going to be, you know,
Yeah.
shutting people down. I mean, it's just the internet. Like,
Yeah.
you kind of chalk it up to that.
We weren't
but
even dating.
We weren't even dating,
yeah.
and you were like, no, you can ban these people and you can get rid of these people. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like, what's really
Your
the
comment
point?
section
Yeah.
on Instagram used
But
to
then
be
it
horrible.
instantly changed to now that, you know, now people know when they go to my profile or if I work with a partner or
Yeah.
something like that, that they're going to get a positive reaction.
Sure.
It's not
It's
gonna
Yeah.
be
weeding the
full-
garden, right?
Oh, yeah. And when I see companies not do that, I'm always like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It always seems like the right answer. But yeah, authenticity.
Yeah,
That's cool.
exactly.
So that's the key. And the power of persuasion. Actually, that's something, well, I don't know. I mean, like, do you feel like you were raised in a way that made you very determined, or do you feel it was your influence from games or things that you were into, like wrestling?
I mean, I
Like,
think
where did that drive come from, I guess? What I'm
I think it definitely comes from how
Yeah.
I was raised, right? Because I was raised
was
with
your
that.
mom or dad like that?
They were both bootstraps people, right?
Yeah.
And I think it was very much that I was raised with the idea that you can do anything you want to. You can
Yeah.
anything you want to accomplish, you'll be able to accomplish, right? I always
Yeah.
tell a story when people ask about like
You make your own reality.
exactly how I got here, right? I always tell a story that in the 4th grade, an issue of Game Pro. On the cover was Death and Return of Superman. On the inside was Maximum Carnage, and I read it cover to cover every
Right.
night for an entire month. And at the end of that month, it dawned on me an adult got paid to write this. Like
Yeah.
adults made this somehow. There's a job there.
Right.
So I marched in the kitchen and I told my mom, I know what I want to do with my life.
Mommy, can I do this, please?
And she said, what do you want
She's
to do?
Like, whatever,
and I
yes.
said, I want to write about video games.
Right.
And she said, okay, we'll make that happen. And that
That's
was
More
it.
people
dope.
agree
Right.
That
right
is
now.
so cool.
And that was the thing, is that no one tried to shut me down on that. No one tried to tell me, no, that's not possible. No, that's not a real job.
good.
And so it became, well, how do we do that? Well, they're writers, so it's journalism. So start going that way. And that's the path I took to do it, right?
What did your mom do for a living?
Mom does office administrative stuff.
Oh, okay,
like, you know what I mean? She's usually like
Smart
office
and
manager.
professional.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Kind of run
And
the
your
whole show.
father?
Dad is a heavy
Are they still
equipment
together?
operator. No, they're split up. Still
okay.
alive though.
Oh, no.
Dad's a heavy equipment operator. Local
Oh, that's
150 in
cool.
Chicago. What's up? Crane operator.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, it helps to have, a sense of like where, I don't know, like my upbringing, I always think like what happened that, I was able to do what I was,
Yeah.
destined to do, I guess. But yeah, my parents were not, they worked small jobs. Like my mom was always working for kitchens or hotels, and my dad now works at Walmart,
Yeah.
or worked as a mechanic at Volvo.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. I've been trying to analyze like my upbringing too. I go to therapy and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if you ever or tried that.
No, I just talk on podcasts like
Right.
for 5 hours a day.
That helps. I mean,
Yeah,
having
no,
the
totally.
people, like that's a thing you have cultivated is the people, like
Oh,
the people
sure.
you've surrounded yourself with and who help support you. And that's like, I think that's half the battle when it comes to mental health is like having your people and people that you can.
Sure, talk to, confide,
Support.
and understand, right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I think, is supporting each other. But, And
Yeah.
I think, that's sometimes so easy personally, but then professionally it's so tough. And
Yeah.
I know that, like, I can only imagine what it was like for you to do so much of it on your own, as you are the host,
Yeah.
you are the product. Because,
Yeah.
like, sure, I am too, but when we
She's
left,
great.
I'm not gonna cry. I
She's gonna
promise.
cry. Keep
No,
it up.
I'm
She's
fine,
gonna
I'm
cry.
fine, I'm
She's
good.
gonna
when
cry.
we left, we were lucky enough to leave with each other and start something together.
Yeah,
right?
everyone was like, I mean, that's the thing too. It's like, how do you convince people to do that?
Yeah.
But you did it.
Well, yeah.
and they were also all about it. They
Yeah,
kinda
it was
saw
it
what
was
you
a
saw.
slow to start. You know what I mean?
Really?
When we got that first YouTube check, I was very, very excited. I turned to Nick and Tim. I'm like, "Do you guys want to divide it up?" And they were both like, "How much is it? $100? Just keep buying us pizza when
keep
we come
it.
over,
We're
right?" And it
good.
was
Yeah.
like that slow thing, and the snowball slowly rolling down the
Yeah.
hill. That everybody
Was
looked
that
around.
the
and was
challenge
like
at the start, the money, or what?
that was
would
one
you
of them
say?
for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think it was that like. There was never, it's not like I started the YouTube channel saying, I'm leaving. This is what I'm going to do. This is my future.
Mm-hmm.
I was, I fell in love with YouTube because I needed a creative outlet that was mine.
Yeah.
Because I love IGN and I loved IGN at the time, but having at the time been there for 5 years, it was that, how it is, you never
Yeah.
turn it off. And if
Right.
I went to bed and I love to read Twitter before bed, if I saw somebody, if Shuhei Yoshida said something crazy,
Right.
I had to get out of bed and open
like,
the
"I'm
computer and
working."
go, or make sure that the international team was doing it. And,
Yeah.
you go home and you're playing games, which is great, but then you're just talking about them on work the next day, and
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. So I started looking for my own creative outlet. And
Yeah.
I looked into writing a comic book and a kid's book and all this other stuff. And
Do you do that?
I wrote a manuscript for a children's book, like an illustrated
Nice.
one, yeah. But it's very much, in the comic book I did outlines like I tried to do the other year, but it's the same story as like, it wasn't my passion.
Right.
And so if it felt like work, it wasn't going anywhere.
It wasn't gonna work. Yeah.
And so it was that I went to that first VidCon, found out what YouTube really was, and was like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, this is what I want to do. I can make my own videos, and I can edit them myself, and I can publish them, make my
Yeah.
own thumbnails, and not
Yeah.
have to worry about, being a team player on that front,
Mm-hmm.
and like make what I want to make. What is a vision for something goofy I'd want to make?
Yeah.
And so I started doing all that, and I came back and I interviewed Colin, and then I started reviewing Oreos, and then Tim and Nick were coming over and filming it, and then giving me the footage and showing me how to put it into a computer and
This
do
is
everything.
how this works, Greg. No.
Exactly, exactly. And so, like, when we'd come back to do more shows, we'd all be riding in the car from IGN, and we'd all
Yeah.
be BSing around.
And having a blast.
And it was
Like,
that thing of like, this is
yeah.
fun. We should do this as a show. This should be a podcast.
Let's do more of this and not the other stuff.
And then we
the 9
did
to 5.
that, and then it was like,
Yeah.
wow, we're having so much fun. And for Tim and Nick, mainly Nick, because Tim had done his own YouTube stuff. Nick had never really been in front of the camera.
Yeah.
So like, you know what it's like to get that first hit of you say something on a podcast and forget about it, and then somebody tweets you about it.
Yeah.
You're at a meet and greet, and somebody, you changed my life when you said this.
Oh my
like,
God, yeah.
to
I've had
see
that
them
happen to
start
me.
having that, you start to see them develop the connections that I was taking for granted because I've been doing it for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so it was just this glacial progress of like,
Glacial is a good word. I love that word.
Yeah,
I use
we
it a
figured-
lot with therapy and with
sure.
just mental health and stuff.
2012, you figure we start making YouTube content, or I start making it, they start helping, but they're all part of it. And it isn't until 2015 that we leave,
right, yeah.
So that's a long time. And to your question,
Takes time.
there was a definitive moment where we were like, okay, we're at that point where, Nick's been there forever and feels like he wants to leave. Colin and I were like, we feel like we could do this on our own. And Tim was like, I've only been there a little bit, but I'll go if we're going.
Yeah,
and it was like,
he's like that.
Exactly. We sat down and it was like, what is everybody's number? What do you need to make this happen? And we all got those numbers and came back and we're like, okay, well, we'll look at this in a year and a half. Like, this isn't something we're doing now.
We'll do that for maybe one person on
Exactly.
the team.
And so then the next month was that we went to the next VidCon. And on the way there, Tim showed me an article about Patreon. He's like, have you heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, oh, yeah, kind of. It's like Kickstarter. He's like, yeah, we should look into it when we get back. And we went and we did a panel at VidCon, and we left. And on the outside, we were taking photos, signing autographs and stuff.
Yeah.
And these guys walked by, and they did like a double take, and they ran over like, you're Greg Miller from IGN. I'm like, yeah. And like, oh my God, we're such fans. I'm sitting there talking to them. And I looked down, and they were wearing Patreon shirts.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you know the Patreon guys. And they're like, yeah, I'm the VP. And I was like, whoa, you are Patreon. And it was that Patreon knew who we were. They did a meeting with us. We were the first meeting in their brand new office where nothing was on the walls yet, nothing had been built.
Right.
And they sat us down and were like, to Tim and I, they were like, you don't understand. Like, this is built for what you're talking about. This you would kill on this thing and blah, 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 blah. So
you like were the first or like one of the first.
We were I always say that, I feel like I was late to YouTube, I was late to Twitter, I was late to Instagram.
For Patreon.
We were cutting edge with Patreon and we got to be one of the first big success stories,
Nice.
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
Yeah.
And now, what's next? I don't know. What's the future?
Growth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's it. We keep talking about, at the beginning of the year, so this year's live stream of 2019, it was very much that, we were like, we haven't done a fundraising thing in a while.
Yeah.
We just hired Barrett.
Oh, right. You guys did I remember seeing that where you guys were like, now we're going to travel the world. We're going to make this global.
We're doing what we called Kind of Funny 4.0, where we really blew up what the channel Kind of Funny was, because we have two Kind of Funny games.
Right.
Made a bunch of new shows, a bunch of new ideas on how that would work. And we were like, we're asking for money right now because we want a studio. We want to hire more people. We want to keep going this way. And so that's still what the path is. It is about bringing in the right people and having them create the cool content. Because it is that I'm well aware that as we continue to get older, it'll be harder and harder for me. When I keep getting older and Tim keeps getting older and Nick, he's already old when Nick dies. But it's going to be harder and harder for a 45-year-old Greg in a decade, right, to sit there and bring in an 18-year-old and talk to them on the same level, right? And so I don't ever want that to be, because that's how Kind of Funny would die. I want it to be that we keep
present to the generation.
And I want to make shows as we get, again, with the authenticity bit of it, as Jen and I start to have kids, as I move into home ownership or something.
Right.
As all that stuff happens and those life events happen, the audience that's with us now will be on that same trajectory. But I do want to make sure someone is there bringing in new people and making new stuff and whatever's exciting for them.
So you're like looking for your successors in some way.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, for me, Kind of Funny is not a dodge or a hustle, right? This is the last stop. This is the last stop. Like, I want to make sure that we're doing it right and growing something that will take care of people. Because I'm very proud of the fact that all of our hires have come from the community.
Yeah,
you mentioned Joey Noel.
Joey was a fan.
I met at Polite Provisions at a meet and greet, right?
Yeah.
She liked our videos.
I met her in person and immediately was like, oh, I really like you. I was like, and then I saw you guys hired. I was like, amazing.
Everyone go follow her on Twitter if you're watching.
Joey Noel, her birthday. December 25th.
No way.
Oh, wow.
Holy cow.
Jesus.
Christmas Day.
Exactly.
Right.
But Andy Cortez, the same thing, right? Like, he was a fan who listened to our podcast and made art for us. We helped get him a job at Rooster Teeth, and then we stole him from Rooster Teeth.
You're like,
train him.
Now you're coming here.
Barrett Courtney. Barrett Courtney.
I like that guy.
Thank you. Very good guy, right? We stole from IGN. Shout out to that. But, when there was a party he was at, and this is before we hired him, but he mentioned, I was telling some story about interacting with the best friends, is what we call our community. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, it's like how I sent you that email about working here. And I was like, what? And we ran back to my computer, and when we had broken off, he had sent me an email in 2015 that was like, it's a long shot, but I'd love to work for you guys one day.
Oh, my God.
So when we hired him, that's on the fridge, right? And Joey had done the same thing, and hers is on the fridge. It's like, that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Have you guys been approached to be purchased by anyone?
No, I think everybody knows we wouldn't want that.
Really, you wouldn't want that?
Well, because then they have stake in
what like Big Daddy
doing.
Big Daddy Warbucks comes in and he's like, hey, I'll give you this amount of money, but you guys can keep doing your thing, but now you got funding. Would you take it?
We're fine on funding.
Oh, there you go. I love it. I love to hear that.
That's the problem not the problem, I guess is a good problem to have. That's the issue we run into so many things. I've had so many meetings with people who are like, hey, we have this opportunity to make a TV show, and we'd love to have you be, and you get on these calls, and it's just like, well, what can't you make? And we always look around, we're like, we can make anything.
And
Like,
all
you know what I
things.
mean? Like, we've done these crazy live
The
shows.
showcase stuff you guys do.
We've done our own E3 press conferences
Yeah,
now. Like,
yeah.
if we have the idea, we have the ability to go make it happen.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's more than, it's not about money. It's more about space and time. And you know what I mean? Of
Yeah.
like growing smartly. I never ever want to be the team that suddenly goes from, cool, we bought this huge studio, now we're
Yeah.
hiring 15 more people, and
Yeah.
it turns out they're not the right people, they're not a
Yeah.
great fit, or it turns, away.
Yeah.
It's the same thing I joke around about all the time, is like, I'd love to have 1 million subs on each YouTube channel, but if that was to happen inorganically overnight, like we're a viral video and that all comes in,
Yeah.
they will not be best friends, they will not be
No.
of the same
That's
message,
right.
don't be a jerk,
No.
and it's like, that's not what this is about.
Well, I'm glad you're saying that because I think it's important for people to know out there too. It's like the community in the end is what matters,
Yeah.
and it's the content.
Yeah,
Like,
and so it's a never,
The fact that you're still passionate and you're gonna forever be passionate.
yeah.
Not
It's-
to lose that drive.
I would never say never, right? In terms of
Right.
like this, but like, yeah, nobody's ever come at us and been like, what? And I think in passing, maybe somebody said it before, and then we immediately shoot it down, like, okay,
Like,
cool.
nah.
We can just work together. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
okay, great, that'd be good.
Yeah. Someone wrote here, Deflame, Greg and Kinda Funny has impacted many lives for good.
Well, thank you.
I love that. You guys do a lot of charities as well.
We try to, yeah. Extra Life's big. This is the first year Team Kinda Funny's raised more than $100,000. That was always the big one for me in terms of a
Fudge,
goal.
yeah. Oh man.
Fudge,
I
yeah, you almost got
basically
it.
Said it. I basically said the F word, so if we have an
Fudge,
extra
yeah,
dollar.
frick yeah.
I'll
You'll
cover
cover
you.
me?
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna write an
whatever.
IOU just so that we're good.
I'll
To
invoice
yourself.
you.
Thank you.
I'll invoice
Yeah,
you.
I'll
When I
invoice
send
me
when I
on
send
the
my
invoice.
Uber receipts, there'll be a $1 line item
Perfect.
for
I
the
love
fudge.
It. I will accept that.
Yeah, we do.
Totally
Yeah,
great.
Extra Life's been huge for us. I'd like to think that good on outreach to the community as well. And it's always that thing. I know you know it as well
Yes.
as anybody. Just making the content we make gets people through hard times.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that's always what is heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time. When I'll go to a meet and greet, we just did London meet and greet. And
Is that your last stop for this year?
Yeah, that was the finale of the Kinda Funny World Tour.
Congrats on completing that.
Thank you.
That
Yeah,
is hard
it was a long one.
traveling.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
But it was, so many people come up to you and like they start crying and they're like, you don't understand, you got me through X, Y, and Z. You can't do this. And I'm like, no, you don't understand that
Yeah.
making the content and having this with you gets me through everything. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like Instagram and Twitter are always highlight reels of lives. That's not what you know it. That's not what
Oh,
day-to-day
no.
life. You're not in that pool every day floating
And
around.
I did not look like this morning. Like no, this is yeah.
And so those, and like, I think
Yeah.
we're all very open and talkative. Nick talks about going to therapy all the time and how much
Good.
that helps him. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
oh my God,
I
it's
talk
so
about my
needed.
personal struggles and how I deal with them all the time on podcasts. But again, that's so easy to fall into. That's just content, and people think that they're. But
Right.
I always say, like, I understand how intimate our relationship is with the audience, and I understand that on the good days, we're there to celebrate with you, and on the bad days, we're there to take your mind off it.
Yeah.
And that's always the most important thing of, I think, of the podcasts I listen to, and how they become part of your routine. And so for that to be of like, you pour that cup of coffee and you do it, or you're at work, or you're in a field, or whatever,
Yeah.
you're listening to it there. You're just entering things on an Excel spreadsheet. Like the amount of times I'll meet a couple, and it's, the significant other got turned on to the show because they just heard it through osmosis all the time. But then we started doing, Marvel in Review, and that was cool, and that was something
Yeah.
they got onto, and now they're in for all of it.
I'm like that. I watch Armchair Expert, or
Yeah.
I listen to. I
Yeah, she got
watch
me into it the
Yeah.
same way.
Super into it. I mean, it's kind of the inspiration in some ways of the show, Everybody Games, and I don't listen to your stuff, and I don't want to say it in a bad way,
Oh,
but I just want
no.
to be full disclosure.
Dude, no, don't worry about that.
But
That's
it's the
always.
same thing. Like, I feel like such a connection with those two people, this Monica and Dax,
Yeah.
who like run such a great, and they also have a lot of people who come on here, and I'm learning things,
Sure.
and now all of a sudden I'm like into what this other person's doing, or I don't know. I think like when it comes down to content, it's the connection that matters. It's the fact that you're being true to yourself and you're sharing. I think that's the success of social media in a lot of ways, and people like PewDiePie and all these other people is that they're opening themselves to the world.
Right.
And there's no filter, and there's no sense of this is a lie or we're trying to be something we're not.
Yeah, because that falls apart.
Yeah,
People see right through
totally.
that, and
Yeah.
then that's
Yeah.
over, right?
Yeah.
So you got to be true,
Yeah.
always, guys.
Naomi introduced me to Armchair Expert, and then the episode that sold me was Dax and Rob McElhaney, the guy who show
Always Sunny in
runs, Always
Philadelphia.
Sunny.
Okay, yeah.
And they were talking about stuff that just resonated with me as the concept of masculinity and how it's way more complex than media lets you
Yeah.
know.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa, okay. And then just like you said, through osmosis, we're just on board with the
Yeah.
whole podcast.
And
Well,
you guys have that effect too.
Yeah,
Your
and I
stuff.
think that I totally hear you on not listening to our content.
No, I mean,
Because let me
it's
finish.
more of a time issue.
Totally. The amount of times
Yeah.
we are friends with so many people we work
Yeah.
with, our
Like
peers.
I watched when Brian was on and he talked about his Whole30 stuff
Weight
because that
loss,
was
yeah.
something that I was really
Totally, and that's the
into.
thing is like I feel like I always have that blind spot
Yeah.
of like, yeah, I love Lucy O'Brien and I love
Right.
Jonathan Dornbush. I don't listen to podcasts beyond
I don't know what they
weekly.
do.
Right,
Right.
and that's the thing is like somebody will say something in there a bit and you don't know it because when you come home from work most of the time,
Yeah.
I want to play a game. I always
Yeah.
want to play a game, but I also don't want to listen to the same conversation I just had.
Right.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about video games. Everybody's
do
talking
you
about
listen to
Marvel
your own
movies. Everything.
podcast?
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
When I come home, like I listen to Death, Sex, and Money. That's my podcast,
nice.
which is a podcast Anna Sale does with a very talented team that interviews people and talks about those three subjects, right?
Cool.
And so like. It's not like sexy porno. It's very much like
Sexy murder porn.
Exactly.
Yes.
But it's like that thing of like I love her interview style. We had her come in for a Patreon
really?
exclusive episode, and like I was freaking out to meet
That
her
must
and
have
like
been
podcast.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
totally.
Like, well, yeah.
I
like,
would
my
lose
dream is
my mind
right?
if we met Dax.
Dax Shepard.
Oh yeah.
Well, and Monica. It had to be.
Nah,
it have to
Dax.
be the pair. Like
Okay.
it can't just be yeah. But same thing.
For me
like
with
if they
Dax.
came on the show.
Get him on the show.
Oh my God! I don't worry. I've already drafted my tweet. Like it's happening. We're gonna see how we can get him.
Oh, I would be like in the corner, like, oh,
We'll finagle something
I'm not gonna lie. I think you're 1 degree away.
to making it happen.
Yeah, because I have a friend who I
Oh.
know is very good friends with Dax.
Oh,
Get the frick out of
don't
here.
say it.
Oh my
I'm not gonna say
God.
names.
He's wearing
Alright,
the
well,
Santa suit and
I
coming
know,
in with
you're
gifts.
I
bringing
make
me
a
gifts
presence
here.
happen.
You're bringing me the wonderful gift of Dax Shepard.
Dax Shepard.
And Monica.
No, it's Dax. I like Monica, but
we have to have Monica.
I just feel like I mean, that's the trick of the podcast, but I feel like we're on the same wavelength and all that
Yes,
stuff. So
100%. Let's
Yeah.
make that happen.
Okay.
All
That'll
right,
be my
we're
Christmas
gonna do
gift to
it.
you. I'll take my shot.
And
I'll
then
hit up my
I
friend.
need to figure out a gift for you.
No, please. Coming down here was enough. Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Seriously?
Yeah, this is fun just
Okay.
doing this. I
I
want
know
you to
you told me you were excited, and
You know,
I was like, "That's amazing."
Your
I
gift
love
to me
hearing
can
that.
let us bring you up. Let's come up and do
would love
we have
that.
cool friends and all that jazz.
I think we've even talked about doing
We
this
have.
a million
You were
times.
supposed to
and
one
I've never
time.
done it. I think I was supposed to one
and
time.
then you had a gig of some sort.
something.
Yeah.
I'm always that's
Coward.
the thing, time, man.
I know
Oh,
too.
well, okay. I guess before we finish, I would love to know how you do that because you
What?
do everything. You're
Oh,
like managing your
geez.
personal relationship, which is amazing. With okay, does she like to be pronounced a French name? Like
Well, I mean, like
pronounced
I'm sure you know
or
it
the
as well as
English version?
anybody.
It's
She
not Genevieve.
It's
That's the
Genevieve.
Genevieve. Is
Yeah,
the
yeah,
private-
exactly,
But does she
exactly.
prefer?
she doesn't care.
Okay.
She's just happy people are talking to her.
Well, I love Genevieve.
Sounds like
yeah,
me.
and I've only met her again in passing because we see her at events
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, you manage that so well. It seems like. And
Well,
you're
Jen's
like,
a great partner for it because she's in the industry, right? In
Right,
terms
she
of she's on the
understands.
publishing side of games, so she gets that,
Right.
and she understands it all. So yeah, she understands what it requires.
Yeah, and
lost
she does
track.
it herself in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
right? She does the traveling.
Oh, yeah,
stuff
yeah, for
her
traveling, yeah,
business,
yeah, yeah.
Right.
Vital.
So then, I guess, is there
Oh, it's good
anything
now.
that you figured out to like? Was this always easy for you to just travel and do the next thing?
Oh
And,
no, I
Like
mean,
managing your schedule, like do you? I put out a tweet this week because I'm
you're getting
looking
an assistant,
for a
right?
personal
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
assistant because I feel stretched thin, and I don't know like. Did you ever have like? Did that ever happen to you where you were like, I can't. There's too much happening right now. I need someone else to help me.
Yeah, I mean I think what happens is you
Like it seemed
explode.
like you never. Right. Yeah.
You fall apart and you miss the you
Yeah.
do it like that was.
So it's happened to you before?
Oh sure, I always talk about it. Leaving IGN, right? Like when we started Kind of Funny.
Yeah.
It was the biggest reality check to what I was actually going to be able to do.
Okay, yeah.
Because at IGN, I always prided myself on if you were in indie or you were AAA and you hit me up and you wanted to do Up at Noon or you wanted a Let's Play or you wanted whatever, it was like, we can make that happen. Because
Yeah.
IGN, obviously, there's
The
this
pull,
huge
the
staff.
clout, yeah.
Yeah, and I could assign it to anybody else and get them to come do it.
Yeah.
And so to jump to Kind of Funny, where I'm in
You're doing
tears.
everything.
I'm sitting there trying to set
Yeah.
up a Let's Play because it's the four of us, and I'm the one who's suddenly in charge of tech. I'm in
Yeah.
tears because the Retron won't work with the capture equipment. We don't
Oh,
sound. I don't
man.
know why.
Don't even get me started on tech not working.
Right?
I get
I've had
so
to learn.
frustrated.
I've had to learn how to do so much stuff because if it breaks, Naomi just starts screaming at
Yeah.
the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I don't
her
have
thing.
patience for it. And
Yeah.
so I feel it's always, when you need it the most that it
Oh yeah,
stops
that's
working.
definitely when it falls.
But that's what you run into, right?
Yeah,
Like,
and so when you
you're
start
wearing all
having
the
that
hats.
happen, and when we left, it was going to be that we were going to do a stream in the morning for the Colin and Greg Live, which became the morning show, which became a million other shows. But we would stream in the morning,
Yeah.
and then we would, so we'd stream the talk show in the morning, we would do a podcast in the afternoon, then we'd stream on Twitch, and I was like,
Man.
I'll nap in between.
Easy.
See, we're working from home.
Right.
We never, I think we streamed once in the afternoon, and
Oh
then
my
we were just like,
God.
we got to stop doing this. They got to get, there's no way to do it. Because
Right.
we were doing so, we promised so many things on Patreon for shows or
Yeah.
fulfillment or this. It was like, It was a nightmare for a long time of trying to figure out
How many years do you think it took to?
I still don't think we're there.
Okay.
I always joke around
It
about it.
doesn't look like it.
Oh, thank you very much.
From our perspective.
Honestly, the way we did it for Kinda Funny 4.0 this year, where we blew up the morning show, made it into 2 different things, really scheduled it, started it earlier.
Yeah.
I think when we all were sitting there at the onset, we're like, this sounds like it's gonna be outrageous because we're doing 3 shows usually a day. The structure of it made it so that it's a train, and the trains run out of time now. Where it is like, it's a lot, sure, but you know that you can't try to book something here because that's already happening.
Right.
And so I think like that has been a really cool, making us more rigid, still nimble. We can do the crazy stuff. You know, we can take on new shows. We can do this, but like we can't. We know our limits. We know our limits.
That was the biggest thing for me leaving IGN because you're used to 9 to 5. You're used to the schedule, and then you're on your own and you can like sleep in, and it's like hard to get the ball rolling and some structure. Like I think in the past 2 years, I'm kind of getting there.
Yeah, the freedom when it's just all on you and it's your business, right? Like that's a lot.
But and it also puts the pressure on because you're like, I could be doing this right now. Like there's no excuse for me not to be doing this.
Totally. The amount of times at Kinda Funny I've like been there and I'm just like, I just want an adult to step in and fix this.
And be like, tell me what to do.
I'm the adult. There's nowhere else for this buck to get past. I've got to make this happen right now.
Like with my business, something will go on and I'm like, I really don't like this. I'm not feeling. Oh, I can just say no to this.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
That's
the nice side of that coin.
Totally.
But it's totally like, I just need help. Please, someone send an adult.
Yeah, there's a TED talk about that too. I was like, I gotta kick myself in the butt and do it myself.
Yep.
We have 2 minutes left.
This flew.
I know. Yeah, are you kidding me?
But that's what it's like with you. You're always you have so. Oh, come on. It's just you always have so much to say, and it's great stuff. And
that's true. I can talk to a rock.
You're great at talking. Well, you're great at talking, but also you've had like literal, I don't know, like 8 hours a day practice.
Yeah.
For
no,
like
totally
the past 10 years now.
Oh yeah. Oh well, geez, no, it's 12. It'll be 13 in February of this year, March.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I guess my last question, which I didn't really get to, but how married life is, and is that awesome?
That's fantastic.
I mean, you're married to a Montrealer.
I know, of course,
So
Quebecois.
Yeah.
Quebecois.
That's where I'm from.
Oh yeah.
The Quebec.
Cheese curds, it's worth it alone.
You're speaking her language.
You're speaking my language.
Smoked meat sandwiches? Come on, everybody.
I know.
What are you talking
They made
about?
fun of me. We went to Canada. I got like 3 or 4 servings of poutine. I was like, I'm here.
Yeah.
Every place we went to with every time we went to a restaurant with my parents, it was like, I'll just get the poutine.
Yeah.
I'll be like, are you
I
sure
did the
it's
same
breakfast?
thing.
Yeah, why? Yeah,
The first time I went up there, and it was a really short trip with Jen. It was like 3 days, and she was like, all right, we're gonna go to this poutine place. I want to take you to. I'm like, all right, cool. What about the other poutine place you want to take me to? Because it's like La Banquiste, and then the other one I can't remember off the top of my head.
La Belle Province.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it was well, she's like, well, you can't have 2 poutines in 3 days.
I know.
Like,
It's a little
watch
weird.
me. Watch me.
Yeah.
Sure enough, I think I had 3 in 3 days. I was like, yeah.
I mean, it could get gnarly because that's like such a heavy meal.
Totally. Getting pogos on top of it? Come on.
Oh, pogos,
Come on, yeah.
I love pogos.
Yeah. But it's great. Being married's great.
Okay, I was gonna say. And then you want kids, which you flipped earlier.
Yeah, I slipped that in there.
That's
Yeah. We'll get there eventually. Yeah.
How many?
I think 1 will be fine. I think Jen talks to about 2 every so often, but we'll see because it's that thing of until I met Jen, I didn't want kids.
Right.
Like I was very, very anti-kids. Like, well, my kids will have fun when they listen back to podcasts where I'm like, no way, never gonna have a child.
Daddy hated us.
Yeah, exactly. He didn't want us.
Buy us a Porsche now. Okay. So that's you
And I'll
want
be
kids.
like, the EMP went off, YouTube went away, there's no money.
There's no money.
I have no redeemable skills outside of talking.
I'm 45. It's over.
Yeah.
No. So I guess after kids, what's after that? Nothing.
Retirement, I guess. You know what I mean? Yeah. Wait for grandkids.
Are you gonna do Kind of Funny, you think, while you have kids and all that?
Oh yeah. I want to stop that. I mean, I always joke around about it. I think when the kid's young, it'll be great because I'll host podcasts, Kid and the Baby Bjorn. Then,
oh my God.
when the kid gets fussy, put in another room.
Yes.
That is a private Patreon stream where you can watch the kid.
We're monetizing your whole life.
Already
That's
win.
If
perfect.
you want to tip it, then a toy will drop in for it to play with.
Your plan is
Portillo
right.
3 will come in and hang out if you want.
Oh my gosh. It's like you already have the pitch deck right there.
I'm ready to go. If you want to sponsor me, Xbox.
Sponsor my baby.
My kid room.
That's so good. I love it.
I love it. There's somebody here who wrote, "Sir, this is Wendy's. We have poutine." Okay.
You can joke around as much as you want. The McDonald's poutine, pretty good.
Darn good.
I
Pretty good.
I felt.
I think it passes. I'll give it a pass.
They got buffalo chicken too. Come on.
No, I would never do that to poutine.
You're wrong.
Yeah,
I would
you're
never
definitely
do
wrong.
That to poutine.
I had a
it's
chicken.
classic all the way for me.
I had a chicken bacon ranch poutine that was just amazing.
sounds delicious.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I had no shit. They're like, another poutine. I was like, yes.
Yeah, totally.
No
Put it on top of the
shame.
other. I don't want
No
care.
shame. Someone said I love Kind of Funny. I love Greg Miller. That's
Thank
from
you.
Altered Rain.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
It's like you brought
Austin.
some of your fans in here.
Of course. You know how
for
the Kind
doing
of Funny
that.
crew rolls.
Yes.
Oh yeah, they're super
Deep.
all about
Yeah,
your
yeah.
show. Which is why I'm excited if I do get to go up. I mean,
You
we're
will.
just gonna make it
You will.
happen.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Anything you want to promote or let people know?
Sure,
Like maybe if it's like even next week or whatever.
Oh, next week stuff? All right, cool. Then if you like video games, I do a video game talk show each and every day called Kind of Funny Games Daily. It's streamed on another platform I won't mention, but you can watch it later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames. Podcast services around the globe.
Awesome. I want you to sign right before you leave
Okay,
our
cool.
swear jar, and then I'm gonna give you a hug, and that'll be it.
Okay, wow.
That'll be
Okay.
wrapped
That's
up.
it, and we're all
Thanks
done.
for putting money in the swear jar.
Oh no,
for
well,
us
you
to-
know, thanks
Yeah.
for extorting it out of me.
Of course. We already had Carrie sign over here.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
we
I
also
wanna-
have
I
to
wanna
get our
find
two
a
other
nice-
guests earlier.
Look
You
more
choose
of it.
where you want. Yeah. I know there's two
Life
ways.
is weird. Devin Sawa responded to my tweet
Oh, you're friends with him.
about
I am.
about you following me. He's like, yeah, until you get all the wiener pics in your DMs.
Devin, you said you wouldn't say anything. about
I told him I was looking forward to it, so it's all good.
Devin Sow, great person.
Awesome.
Who, by the way, loved Ancestors, the game you showed the trailer
No
for.
way.
Oh, really?
Weirdest
who
thing of my
did,
life.
Creative director that. you said?
Patrice. He did. He's the guy who
Patrice.
did Assassin's Creed.
Assassin's Creed. That's right.
No, it was the weirdest. One of the weirdest, coolest things. And I'll wrap it up fast.
Okay.
Coolest thing, weirdest thing was that last year Game Awards they debuted the Ancestors
Yes.
stuff. Devin Sow tweeted at me like, "That game is amazing. Game over, Greg. Hook it up." I ran into Patrice at the bar, showed him the tweet. We took a photo, sent it back to Devin Sow.
This is how you get people on your show.
Months later,
I'm learning.
I got the email of, hey, do you want to come to a preview event
Yeah.
in Montreal for Ancestors? And I said, I'd like to send Devin Sauer for Kind of Funny. And they said, okay.
That's
and
great.
Devin was like, yeah. And so like all these games journalists up there, and then Devin Sauer comes in and sits down.
Oh my
They're like, is that
God.
Casper? Is
Yeah,
Casper
yeah,
playing
yeah, yeah.
Ancestors?
Yeah.
It's like you have a magic energy to you. You're like a wizard. You make this stuff happen. It's
No,
crazy.
it's, you put out good, you get in good. You get
true.
good friends like you, Naomi.
Aw. Man, that's the perfect Raptor show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'm going to give you a
Please do.
big hug for coming on today's
Thanks
show.
for having
I
me.
so appreciate it.
Thank you guys in the back.
Yes, our awesome crew, Erwin and Colin, crushing it today. Missing you, Shaheen, if you're watching this. I don't know if you are, but thank you to everybody who tuned in, and we'll see you next week for another episode where we're going to talk about the Game Awards with Trisha Hirschberger.
Ooh, Trish is coming in.
Yeah.
Love Trish.
So we're doing that next week. We'll see you then, and thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.